Welcome to the Fill Your Cups podcast. We're your hosts, Morgan
and Bailey.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the show. Today us personally are doing like a double header. We don't have 2 episodes, but we are recording 2. So thank you for always tuning in. We love to consistently be here for you on Mondays or whenever you're able to catch us.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into today's episode, which will be a lot about work-life balance and kind of working harder, not smarter, making sure that your work life is not draining you from enjoying your personal life, those kinds of topics. Before we get into that, what is still in your cup?
Today, I've got a little bit left of my iced coffee and some water.
Nice.
So I'm loving it. What's filling your cup?
I just have water because I had a drink earlier during the first episode that we recorded, and it's gone now. So
Wait, it should go.
Yes, just some water now. But I do have a fun shout out.
Yes.
So you guys, if you follow us on Instagram and TikTok, you know that at the beginning of the year, we shared some track your books throughout the year book templates.
Mm-hmm.
And then each month we've been sharing different book templates. So they're really the same book template, but based on how much you read. So we kind of have one for the girl that reads 1 book a month, one for the girl that reads a couple books a month, and then one for the girl that
reads 12 books a month.
Yes, that I like to joke that it's a template for the girl whose part-time job is reaching her Goodreads goal or something like that. But yeah, so we did at the end of March have a lot of you reshare or track your books using our templates, which we absolutely loved. Thank you for doing that. And know that next week, it's like mid next week when April ends, we will be sharing April's as well. So please keep an eye out for those, and please continue to share those because we love to see what you're reading and we love to reshare it. So make sure to tag us when you do. And then on top of that, we share our bonus book club episodes every month.
Yes.
And so if you're reading along with those books this month, we just read it.
Pictures of You.
Pictures of You by Emma Gray. If you're reading along with those, please make sure to tune into those episodes and let us know what your ratings are, and then share it with us on your Instagram stories whenever you do your book tracker.
Yes, I have actually noticed that our book club episodes are like highly loved episodes.
Yeah.
And that we have a lot of listeners who tune into those ones. So if you're one of them, thank you so much. It's our way of making a virtual book club almost.
Absolutely.
Like, not everybody can join and not everybody has the community to have your own book club. So you join ours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Join our virtual
Oh my
one.
gosh, I forgot to tell you this, but at the wedding I was at most recently, I made friends with some of the girls that I didn't know at my table. And one of them, we were chatting about books, and then I was like, oh yeah, on my podcast, we blah, 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 like we have bonus book club episodes. And she's like, oh my God, you have a podcast? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh my God, you have a book club? And I was like, yeah. And we just got to talking about it, and she followed along, and she said that she's going to start like reading the books with us.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. Cause she was like, I'm low key so sad that I don't live in Kansas City, so I can't join your book club.
Right.
But she lives in Omaha or Arkansas or something like that. I can't remember. I think it's Arkansas. So it was in Arkansas. And so I was like, well, you can join. Like you can still participate virtually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I forgot to tell you that, but
Wait, that's so cute.
Yeah,
I
super
really
fun.
like that. Tell her to follow our book club Instagram too.
she did.
No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, she did. Her name's Taylor.
That's so cute.
Yeah. She was really sweet.
I love that. Well, that's why we do it.
Yes.
That's like what my vision was for wanting to do the
Yes.
book club episode.
Yes.
So how fun.
Yeah. So tell your friends, and tell your friends who don't live here even, and tell them like, hey, I know you have been wanting to be in a book club. You can be in this one.
Yeah. Or just read along with me while I'm reading this book club or whatever it is. How
Exactly.
cute, how fun.
Yeah.
I like it.
So now on to our actual episode for the day, because this is not a book club episode.
We just love book club so much.
Despite it sounding like one. Today's episode actually came from the idea. So one of my good friends, Haley, submitted some episode ideas a while back. And one of them was like how to focus at work so that you're not bringing work into the evenings and weekends, like not continuing your day into the evenings and weekends. And she submitted that a while back, and I feel like now is a good time because quite honestly, I am battling with like a lot of frustrations at work, a lot of challenges at work, and I just always want to keep it real and honest with our listeners and be like, look, this is what we're struggling with, and this is kind of how we're combating it, and honestly kind of hold myself accountable whenever I am struggling with something and I'm telling you guys this is how you can fix it. It's like, okay, now I've said this out loud into the universe and to real people, and that means that I actually need to like move forward and take action on these things. So that is kind of where this episode came from. So hopefully this can help you as well as we talk about that and like just kind of take back control in your work life, because there are a lot of things that you can control. Of course, there are things that you can't control and those are honestly the most frustrating things that like I'm experiencing right now, are just things that I can't control in my work life. But there are things that I can control and things that I can do so that I am not feeling the heavy burden of work far past work hours.
Yes.
So I did want to share this statistic that I thought was kind of crazy, but so 94% of Americans agree that having work-life balance is really important. So I don't know who those other 6% are. They're probably just people who just like love their jobs. And they're like, oh no, I don't need work-life balance because
work is my life.
Yes, you know. Yeah, totally fine. Love you 6%, but 94% of us are like, we need work-life balance. And yet only 66% of Americans report that they feel and yet a staggering 66% of Americans report that they feel they lack work-life balance. So 2/3 of the population that's working is struggling with work-life balance.
So sad.
It is so sad. And I feel like it's a huge issue because I kind of feel like it's a cyclical thing. It's kind of like, you know, when we talk about in like the cycle of abuse and like families and relationships and whatnot, I kind of feel like it's the same in the workplace. Once kind of like poor work-life balance culture seeps in, it starts to affect everybody and it's very contagious and it just continues to get worse and worse and you just kind of become a cog in that cycle.
Yes,
you know?
I was going to say that I feel like work-life balance, it snowballs. Like you think, okay, I'm just doing a couple emails from home. Okay, I just have this on my phone so I can stay connected and be in the know. And then all of a sudden you're working through your dinners. All of a sudden that's just all you can think about on the weekends. And like all of a sudden you've become someone who cannot take a day off.
Yes.
And it's like, oh no, it snowballed so out of control so fast.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I feel like this episode's kind of two parts. Like my goal for this episode is that we can talk about boundaries that you can set to help improve your work-life balance, but then also give you tips on how you can work more efficiently when you're at work so that you don't feel the anxiety of like, oh, I have to do this at home and kind of cross my boundary because I didn't get done at work or because you just have this impression that this thing needs to get done. And or even if you did get everything done and you can leave work totally at work, making sure that you're working well at work so that whenever you get home, you're not anxious about what you have to do tomorrow and you're not having anxious thoughts about like, oh God, tomorrow I have to do this and, you know, and
avoiding the Sunday scaries.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And we're recording this on a Sunday and we both already admitted we have Sunday scaries. So this is what we are working on, people.
We're keeping each other accountable.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of the structure of the episode. We'll first talk about like boundaries and work-life balance and tips for that. And then we'll talk about how you can work more efficiently while you're at work so that you don't feel the obligation to cross those boundaries, or even if you can't cross those boundaries, like you can't really work at home, so that you don't feel that anxiety and overwhelm and honestly just drain on your life where you can't do anything else at home because you're so consumed with thoughts of work.
We're so exhausted from it that it makes it hard to do anything else.
So I want to start with boundaries, which are so important. And I think we all agree that they're so important, but we don't all implement them.
No, apparently 66% of us don't.
Yeah. So one that I've noticed in my workplace especially, and I don't know if every workplace is like this, but one that I've noticed especially is PTO and sick time. You may be in an industry where your PTO and sick time accrues or it changes at the beginning of the year or something, and you love to just hoard that time. You love to save it for a rainy day, or you want to, maybe hold on to it because if you ever leave this job, they'll pay it out or something like that. But the truth of the matter is that people who use their PTO and sick time are happier in the workplace. They are typically work better because they take frequent breaks. So my big thing though is not even just using your PTO and sick time, but when you use your PTO and sick time, do not work during that time.
Yeah.
This is something that is really, really bad in my work setting and something that I've kind of I got a little bit lackadaisical at times about, like bringing my work phone with me when I went on a trip or something. And
just in case.
Yes. And honestly, if you are on PTO or you're on vacation or something and you're not somewhere that you can't access Wi-Fi or something like that, like you're pretty much anywhere, anywhere that you can have access to like internet, I highly recommend if you have Slack or email or Teams or anything like that on your personal phone, take it off. Don't just turn notifications off. Delete the app for that time. And then if you have a work phone, which is what I have, do not bring it with you. And I don't know. I just really feel strongly about that. I don't know.
It's important.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're gonna work. You're gonna answer the call. You're gonna check the email. You're gonna check to see, oh, did I put this on my calendar? So it's important to do it.
Yes. In our workplace, I can't tell you how many times my coworkers, and I love them so much and I'm not putting them down, but I think so highly of them, but so many of my coworkers have this fear of going on vacation and not having and not working.
Accessible.
Yeah, like not checking their emails or not. And I'm like, don't check your email, man. Like, even if it's a tiny thing, like you said, like even it's just like, oh, I'm just going to check once a day or something like that. Like these are these tiny things that
snowball.
Yeah, that slip in and snowball. So that's a big one for me.
I would say for me personally that the PTO and sick time is always something that I get really scared to ask for. And it's just because I don't want to disappoint. I don't want to be told no. Although in my work, I'm like not going to be told no. I have a really accommodating office. But for me, I have before gotten to the point where I'm like, oh crap, I need this sick time and it's like a week away. So then I have to ask for it and then it like really scrambles everybody. And I'm like, oh, if I had asked that 2 months ago when I knew I needed it, this would have been so much better. So this is something I'm working on personally, is not waiting till the last minute because I'm anxious about it every day. It doesn't help anybody. It makes it worse whenever you're waiting till the last minute and then all of a sudden they have to find someone to cover or like they have to make plans that are different than the plans that they had already made. So if this is something you struggle with, the same as me, work on putting it on that calendar early, because then that also helps everyone have enough time to where they're not needing you while you're gone. So if it's a situation like that where you know you have something coming up, try to get it out of the way as soon as possible and get it on the schedule as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I would even say not everybody plans out their whole year, obviously, in advance. But if you know, like I have 13 days of vacation at the beginning of the year, maybe even just set a goal of like, okay, I'm going to use 3 days between January and end of March. I'm going to use 3 days between April and end of, and obviously like if you already know you have a 6-day long vacation or something and you need to use it there, you can divvy it up that way and leave 1 or 2 vacation days open, so that you can plug them in where you need. But genuinely just like in order to actually use them, I feel like that is a good method, I guess, to doing that.
Yeah.
And then like
and then it's like a random day off. And you're like, oh, yay.
yes, and I would
What a
say
treat.
yeah, and I would recommend that also to people who have unlimited PTO, especially because unlimited PTO can kind of be a trap where you have unlimited PTO, but then that means you never take it because you like I don't know. I've heard that is a stat.
It's like too open-ended.
Yeah.
That you're like, I don't really need it, so I'm not going to. However, whenever you have a certain amount of days, you're like, okay, this is the amount I can take off. So no, I've heard that too, that it's like, it's kind of a trap.
Yeah.
And it gets weird.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another thing that I would recommend when it comes to boundaries is evenings and weekends. So this is something that Haley specifically talked about, like how do I work during the day so that I don't bring work into evenings and weekends. And we'll talk a little bit more about like efficiency and stuff when we get to the second half of the episode. But evenings and weekends or whatever your off hours are, like if you work, Tuesday through Saturday instead, obviously this would also include Monday or something like that. Like, or if you work night shift in a hospital or something and obviously this is for your off hours, be vocal about those. So this is something that I have learned or I've been learning and something that actually came up at my work trip this last week. One of my coworkers was like, Morgan, I love whenever, because we have like a group chat with the other account managers. And he was like, I love whenever it's like 4:30 or something and you text the group chat and you say, have a great night, everybody, signing off for the day, turning my phone sound off or something like, I'll catch you tomorrow if we need, whatever, like kind of just establishing that boundary there and vocalizing it because really like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, why do we overextend ourselves? And for me, like that AM group chat is something that I can really fall by the wayside on, like answering texts at like 6, 7, 8, 9 p.m. because I want to help people out. And if they have a question at 6, 7, 8, 9 p.m., I want to answer it. But I also don't want to be thinking about work. I want to be turning that switch off at 4:30 or 5 or whatever time it is that day. And so I want to vocalize that to them because then I know that they know, oh, like Morgan's not going to be available. Yeah. And I shouldn't be seeking her help right now. Or just like she's not going to answer until the morning and that, and that's fine. And I feel like honestly, this is like when we were talking about it being a cycle in the company, like it has to start somewhere, And so I often feel like it's not expected of me to work outside my regular hours. It's not something that my manager has ever told me I need to do. And so if I vocalize it and I'm very open about my off hours or like on Friday saying like, everybody have a good weekend. I'm tuning out for the weekend or like I'm muting this group chat or something like that, then people know that. And then I don't know, it kind of goes both ways. Does that make sense?
Oh, it absolutely makes sense. And since someone at your work trip said, I really like that you do this, it means that they want to do it too. And they're like, I acknowledge this and I really respect that. And it's a great boundary that you've set up for yourself that other people have started to notice and are trying to learn how they can implement that in their own lives. I think that's great.
Yeah. Can your coworkers access you outside of like in your off hours?
They could. I don't have any of the apps on my phone, so like I don't have Outlook on my phone or anything like that. They have my phone number, so technically they could. They never do. I actually cannot access them because they have work phones and then they have personal phones. I don't need a work phone because my work phone is the office phone, but they have like my personal cell phone. I don't think anyone's ever needed me outside of work ever. So no.
But I know when you were in property management, it was like a little bit more like you had a lot more kind of on-call situations.
Oh, yes. I was I got contacted all the time in property management that I started telling people if I did have days off or like I couldn't be there for something. I started telling people like, okay, guys, I'm heading out for the day. If you need me, don't. Unless the building's on fire, then I guess you can call me. But otherwise, don't.
Yeah.
That's how I would leave things.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I'd be like, if something comes up on this Friday that I have a family vacation for, it'll wait till Monday. Yeah. And I'm sorry that the person's not going to like that answer, but unfortunately that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Like, sorry.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. So this kind of goes with what you just said about not having like your email and stuff on your phone, but phone and email boundaries I feel like are really important. The biggest thing is like it's really hard to break a habit. It's really easy to start a habit though.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the habit of checking your phone at 7 p.m. or something like that, checking your email specifically or text or whatever at 7 p.m. or something like that, the best way to break that habit is by, this is from Atomic Habits, but like make it difficult to access that
Make
habit.
it harder.
Yes, yeah, because the best way to like start a habit, he says, is like make it easy.
Yeah.
The opposite of that is make it harder. So something that I'll do a lot is my work phone. I'll turn the sound off, but even then, if it's like out in my relaxing space, like in the living room or in the kitchen or something like that, like a place that I'll be for the evening, I do get tempted to pick it up and look at it. And it's like what you said, it snowballs. If I pick it up and look at it once, I look at it several times. So put it in a room that you are not going to be in for the evening or for the weekend even.
Yeah.
Turn
Even
it
if you're,
off.
yes, I was going to say, I love that you do that. I've noticed that on weekends, you'll have it off. And I really, really like that you do it. 'Cause sometimes you just put it away or it's on the charger and, oh, I accidentally saw a message. I'm just going to respond. But you turn it off. I like that.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, when you just mindlessly pick up your work phone or check your work email or whatever, you're no longer in control there.
Yeah.
Like, you are letting whatever email is in your inbox that could really piss you off. You are allowing it control over you in your off hours. Like, let that email piss you off in your on hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not getting paid for those off hours.
Yeah, legit. So that's one thing. And then I've already said this a couple times, but like, just if you are able to, do not get email, Slack, Teams, Zoom, whatever. Do not get it on your personal phone. Just if you have any ability to, just don't.
Yeah,
I really just believe in that.
Most times you don't even need to really have it. You just want to be accessible. And that's a way our society is right now. Accessibility is huge and we are getting accessed way more than we ever were meant to be accessed. And I fully believe that. And yeah, so most times you don't even need those things on your phone. I used to, whenever I was in property management and worked at a much higher stress job, I would literally look at my emails the night before to know what I was going into the work for the next day. So then I'm having terrible sleep because I'm anxious about it. I'm going to bed anxious about it. Sometimes I'm going to bed crying, thinking about the next day already. And it's like, why did I do that to myself? I should be crying at 8 a.m., not 8 p.m. Cry during work hours.
Yeah. Well, and to be honest, there's some psychology to that. Like, at 8 a.m., you are in a much better state to handle that.
Yes, you feel like you're ready for the day.
Yes. Then you are at 5 p.m. when you're drained, decision fatigue. You already worked the whole day. Like, you're hungry probably. You know, that's true.
Yes. I was going to say that if you are someone who does happen to work on Saturdays, or you're someone who is that in that 44% that doesn't agree that you need a work-life balance, I don't know, and you just cannot help it, if you are emailing your team or texting your team, please make sure to put something in there that says, hey, don't respond to this. This is just something I'm thinking of right now. Or that you say, hey, no need to get back to me now. Get back to me tomorrow morning. I'm just sending out a late night email. Something like that. I think that is really courteous of you to be able to do. So then those other people, if you didn't delete your notifications and you still have that Outlook on your phone, at least whenever you're getting that, you're seeing something that says, don't get to this right now. Let's talk tomorrow. So then don't get to it right now. Let's talk tomorrow. I also think that if you are in a leadership position and you have a team, to tell your team, do not look at emails, do not look at texts when you're not working. I used to say that to my groups all the time of like, guys, don't worry about, because you work later than them. Like I would always work an hour or two later than they did, just scheduled hours were different. And I would notice that sometimes they would text me back or sometimes they would email back. And I'd be like, guys, like, don't do this when you're not working. Don't worry about it. If I need it immediately, I have other ways to get this immediately. And most times you don't need things immediately. And if you do, then we got to work on organization. We got to work on working hard, smarter, not harder. So I don't know. I would just say that if you are in a leadership role and you are in a role where you do manage a team, to make sure that they know that that is not expected of them, and they know that you do not want them to be doing that. I think that can help take off unnecessary expectations on yourself.
Yeah, I love that guidance, and I don't have a team under me, but like I was saying, like someone kind of has to start that culture change.
Yeah, you got to start the cycle.
If there's a culture of overworking, working outside of hours, even though that's not required of you, all of that, the people that can make that change are the team leaders. And something that has gone around in my workplace for ever since I've been there is kind of the leadership they always tell you, yeah, take your time off, like spend your evenings, don't check your email, all that, but they never model it.
Yes.
And so that's something that I like. It's kind of a do as I say, not as I do thing.
Yep.
And I know, especially in education, that is the case too. Like there's this weird badge of honor that people feel, or that teachers feel like, oh, if I'm staying till 7 versus the teacher that leaves right after the bell rings at 4 or whatever, like they're wearing busy like a badge of honor. Like they really feel like, oh gosh, I'm just the best because, and so it's like, just, I don't know, I guess just, it has to start somewhere, stopping that culture. And honestly, go back to our red flags episode about should I quit my job, because if the culture really is staying there and they are like not moving, and you're even trying to make some changes there, and you're a leader even, and you can't make changes there, this might be a red flag. You might need to like go back and determine like, should I quit my job? Because, but otherwise I do feel like in those cultures, like you can change that. It's just like a tiny little change.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And I think that if that sounds like something that you're like, oh, I can't quit my job over that, or that's not a reason to leave a job, you have to ask yourself, is it sustainable? Or are you going to several months down the road be like, oh my God, I'm exhausted, I can't do this anymore, and then you're burnt out and you did it to yourself.
Yeah. And honestly, have you heard the thing like, I'm sick of work getting the best of me and my family getting the rest of me?
Yes, I've only heard that said one time, and it was by Ambra at the
thing. Yeah, maybe that's where I heard it recently.
I don't know, but I was like, wow.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's just both should get the best of you, like you should be able to give your best to work, but then you should be able to turn it off and give the best to your family.
Completely agree.
So, okay. So those are all kind of like boundaries, setting boundaries for work-life balance. I feel like the second half of this episode, I wanted to talk about,
before we move on to the second half, I like your next one of taking breaks.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. That was just a boundary I was saying, like, that you can set for yourself, taking your breaks. I know a lot of people will just work right through lunch, or they won't take a break the whole day, and then it gets to 4 o'clock and they're like, oh my God, and honestly, you work better when you take breaks. That just is factually true. Like scientifically and psychologically, when you take, it's like 10 to 15 minute breaks, I think every hour.
I think so.
Hour and a half. So definitely worth it to get up, get your blood circulating, if you're in a desk job or whatever. And then if you are on your feet a lot and you're just up a lot, have a high labor job or something, still taking breaks, like, go to the restroom, water break, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I used to work right through my lunches or like eat lunch on my desk while still working.
Me too.
And it was so bad for me. It made me just feel like I never got a break and that I was never getting to do anything that I like to do, or that I was never getting out of the office. And so I started making that a non-negotiable within my days, and it helps so much. So even if it's not something like that, and it's like getting up to go talk to a coworker, taking a quick walk around the block, going to the bathroom. I know people who are like, oh my God, I only go to the bathroom like once a day. And I'm like, I have to feel like every 15 minutes. Like,
legit. Yeah.
What do you mean? And they're like, well, I just don't have the time. And I'm like, you do.
That's
You're
crazy.
just, I know. So I'm like, yes, making the breaks and taking the breaks are really important. And it's kind of like that thing where if you're working on something and you're like really stuck on it, where it's like, okay, if you just take a break and you come back to it with fresh eyes, a lot of times it can help. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, that's not something I've made up, right? But yeah, coming back to it with fresh eyes or fresh perspective and like a new kind of new,
Yeah,
you're getting so much more out of that.
absolutely. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, so take breaks. And well, I guess you don't have to. I was gonna say, but like, if you really don't want to be interrupted during your break, like vocalize that. Like, tell
Yes.
people, like, I'm gonna take a walk around the block. I'll be back in 15 minutes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we're gonna talk about working smarter, not harder. And these are literal, like, tangible tips I've learned in the couple of different types of jobs that I've had. I've had like desk jobs, and then I've had jobs like this where I'm on the road quite a bit. Or I've also had like kind of an entrepreneurial job with my like body business that I was doing. These things, like, seriously, I feel like they work for all of them.
Yeah.
But one, like, my first tip is batching tasks or theme days. Have you ever heard of this?
Yes.
Okay.
I do that.
You do? Okay, wait, tell us how you do it.
So on every Thursday, I make sure to follow up with anyone who got an estimate that week or the week before. So that I do that every single Thursday. Every single Friday, I'm calling anybody with past due invoices.
Mhm.
So I always make sure to do that. Every Monday is all thing payroll. Like I don't do those things on any other day.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's exactly what theme days are. I feel like setting a day for, in my job, it's not really a sales job, but like recruitment or donor recruitment.
Mhm.
But a lot of the time I have like I do all of my emails to donors on Mondays, and then I usually have like a booking focus on Tuesday to try to book blood drives.
Mhm.
Fridays are follow-up Fridays, which I actually took that from my body business, because when I was in body and I was like reaching out to people to see if they wanted to like join my boot camps and stuff like that, Fridays would be my follow-up Friday. I would batch that and I would follow up on that. I brought that back into this job where everybody that I reached out to on Tuesday to book, I would follow up with them on Friday. Sounds like
Yes.
that's your Thursday.
Yep.
And
that one made me chuckle real quick. So we've talked about that before, and I know you write like FU
yeah,
Fridays for follow up.
Yeah.
But I remember one of our listeners and friends, Courtney, was like, "Oh my god, I do the same thing," it like makes
FU.
me giggle.
Yeah, I'm like, FU Sun Life Financial. No, not really. I just want you to have a blood drip.
Right.
But
That's
yeah.
funny.
But yeah, so setting days. So thinking about all of your tasks, and are there ones that you can chunk together? Because for instance, like the emails that I send out on Mondays, a lot of my coworkers I know, and this may work for them, I don't know, but a lot of them I know will send them out like 1 week and 1 day before their blood drive, but a blood drive could be anywhere from Sunday through Saturday. So they could be sending those emails Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and
Yeah.
But we have the ability, first of all, we have the ability to schedule them. I typically don't, because like our promos and incentives and stuff change so often. I want to be able to include the most recent information in the email.
Yes.
But I do batch all of them on Mondays, because I still feel like even if the blood drive is next Wednesday, I'm only 1 week and 2 days out or whatever.
Yeah.
It still serves the same purpose. So it doesn't have to be Monday, but any day. Like, I feel like thinking about those tasks that you have to do for all of the accounts or all of the clients or patients or students or whatever your base is, batching all of that in a certain day just helps you work smarter, not harder, be more efficient, and just kind of take the guesswork out of it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to think about like, oh, when am I going to figure that? When am I going to get that email out? When am I going to,
No, I completely agree. Or if like cold calling or like calling in general is something that you kind of dread, it's better to dread it all in one day than
definitely
every day you're like, I have to call these 3 people.
Yes.
Like, that's at least my motto is I'm like, I'd rather just dread something on one day.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. Another thing I do is calendar blocking. And this is something that I really want people to realize, because I think that people realize this for their personal life. Like when someone reaches out to you and they're like, hey, can we have dinner Sunday? And you're like, and you decline, but you don't have other plans. Like, it's okay still for you to decline just because you're like, oh, I want to get my house ready, like for the week. I need to meal prep or whatever. Like, you don't have anything set in stone. You don't have like, oh, I'm already having dinner with someone else or something like that. But you are still declining because you have plans for that evening. They're not specific and like timely, I guess.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing with your calendar And I know this is more of like a desk person job thing, probably. But when you calendar block, like Jared kind of taught me this, but Jared will set calendar blocks on his timer for like 2 hours, and it'll be like, I think he calls it deep work time. And it's when he's like deep into whatever code if there's like a break in some code that he's trying to solve or whatever.
Yeah.
And he sets that aside. But if you share calendars with your team, they can look and see that you are busy during that time. So they're not going to throw a meeting on your calendar or, I mean, really, really bad. Yeah. Like they're not going to throw, and it's the same way with us. Like a lot of the time, my manager will look at my calendar. If she sees an open slot and she needs to talk to me about something, she'll toss a 30-minute meeting on there. And if I didn't have that blocked off, then I really have no excuse to like decline it, you know?
Right.
But if I already have blocked off like booking focus time,
Yes.
even though I don't necessarily have a meeting with someone else at that time, I don't necessarily have like a specific phone call planned for that time or anything like that. I'm not out in the field during that time. I have that time set aside for booking focus. And so they can see that block of time is busy.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that because the calendar will even transfer over to when you are sending out an email. If I were to go in and type out, Morgan, it would show up as like that little red dot.
Yeah.
And that tells me, oh, okay, she's not available right now.
Yeah.
So when she's done, like she'll get back to me. And
Yes.
so I like that it does that for both. That's probably there's no way that's only an Outlook thing. But I know it is an Outlook thing.
Yeah, I don't know if it is other things, but we have Outlook as well, so I'm not for sure. But when talking about like not dragging work life into your evenings and weekends, I feel like calendar blocking can really be your friend because you can get so much more done. And if you block off like deep work time or booking focus or whatever task it is, marketing proofs or something like that you really need to get done, expense reports, then you are setting aside that time and you are less likely to jump back and forth on your email and like whatever, just kind of like let the day run you instead of you running your day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you have a plan for the day.
I think that's a great idea and not one that many people would think to do.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
It's very smart to do that.
Another thing that I do, and please continue to interject if you want. I just like love these things.
No, I love it.
Another thing that I do, and I also used to do in my chamber job when I was like doing event planning, and that I used to do in Body was on Fridays. I call it Friday forecasting, but it's really just picking a day of the week, whatever day makes the most sense for you, to plan next week. And so on Fridays, usually Friday mornings, before I do anything else, I look at next week and I start to make those calendar blocks and I determine which days I'm going to be out on the road and like doing deliveries, or if I already have meetings on the calendar, I kind of plan around those, like, okay, what tasks do I want to do around those? What makes sense? If I have a meeting on the calendar with like a new blood drive, then right after that, I put a little calendar block that says like update hemisphere because I want to put in my notes from whatever that meeting provided. So I do that all on Friday. And the way that helps me not drag work into my weekends and evenings is that at the end of Friday, I feel fully confident. The rest of the weekend, I feel fully confident. Okay, Friday Morgan took care of Monday Morgan. Monday Morgan does not have to be like spiraling, trying to figure out where she's going to fit everything in. She already thought about that.
I love that.
I mean?
Yes. That is really smart. I do that, but I do it on Mondays.
Okay.
So it's probably smarter to do it on Fridays, but I have a lot less going on at my job than you or a lot of people do. So yeah, on Mondays, I guess on Fridays, I update my Monday of like the tasks I need to do on Monday.
Yeah.
And one of the tasks I always put on Monday is update weekly calendar.
Yeah.
Or like weekly schedule, whatever it is. And then, so that way on Monday, one of the first things I do is go through and add whatever needs to be added to that week. And then, I don't know. So that's what I do. But if I had a lot more of a high intensity job or like a lot more things going on, I would absolutely adopt the like Friday task.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's just like making sure that you have a day of the week that you're doing that, because I think a lot of the reason that we drag work into the evenings and weekends is because we just don't plan well.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to the end of the day, it's 5 p.m. and it's like, oh shit, like I knew that I needed to send all those emails
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't sent one because I let things come at me instead of planning ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And now the day's gone and now tomorrow's Wednesday or whatever day it is.
Yes.
And I have to get all caught up and I already have all my Wednesday work I have to do, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like that's a lot of why we take things into, especially our weekends and like also why we get Sunday scaries because we are thinking about Monday and we're like, I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like I don't get Sunday scaries as much if I feel like Monday is already set up well for me.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about like we do weekly resets and monthly resets in our personal lives.
Yeah.
Where we're talking about what we have going on through the week. And we don't do that on Monday. We do that on like literally probably the Sunday before.
Yeah.
Like kind of thing. But it is making me think, I was just thinking to myself, I wonder how many people are planning poorly because they don't have a planner / aren't using their calendar and they're just kind of hoping to remember. And I was like, surely people don't do that. But then I was thinking about even coworkers of mine or people I have worked with in the past that they are not using any type of planner. They're just kind of writing it down on a notebook and hoping that they remember. And I'm like,
stressful.
Yeah. So maybe that's number one. If you do not have a planner / you are not using your calendar, you need to be doing that.
Yeah, you have to use some sort of calendar. Honestly, lists aren't enough, especially like handwritten lists because where do they land? Like lists are not enough. You can make a list. Like honestly, sometimes if I do like my booking focus, I'll make a list inside of that calendar.
Yeah, me too.
Of like who I want to call that day or whatever, like that sort of thing. But a list is not enough. You have to know when you're going to do it.
Yes. I was just thinking like maybe that's a reason why it can get really hard is because we're not actually planning because we're not using anything to plan.
And not prioritizing. I didn't have this on there, but one thing that I know that really highly successful people do is set like a top 3 priorities for the day kind of thing. And it's like, if I got nothing else done today, what 3 things would I have to get done?
Yeah.
And honestly, I think I think I need to start adopting this because I haven't done this recently, but I was doing it for a while. But it's like, if you have 3 things that you want to get done, prioritize those, put them on your planner, you know, whatever, calendar. And then that way you can get to the end of the day and you can say, I got all 3 of those things done. I don't need to work anymore. I can shut this off.
Yes.
And feel good about tomorrow. And the next 3 things tomorrow, those will be for tomorrow.
Yes. I do that too. I had a boss one time ask me, it was the end of the day and I think I had been working past what I should have been working. And I had my boss ask me like, okay, what can be saved for tomorrow? What can you do tomorrow? And I was like, probably a lot of this, but I felt like it should get done today. And they were like, well, does it need to? And I was like, no, it was just on my desk.
Yeah.
And they're like, then leave it for tomorrow. And I was like, okay. And so that's something that I think about a lot when it's getting close to when I'm about to have to pack up to go. Cause I leave right at that time turns 4:30 and I say, bye guys, see you tomorrow. So anything.
Good boundary.
yeah. They know it turns 4:30 and I'm out. But I was going to say that like sometimes you can plan as you can do all the planning. You do as much as you can. And sometimes work in the day just happens.
And you still don't get it done.
And you still don't get it done. And it does suck. And it can feel like I did everything right anyway. But it's like, yes, people called. People came in. There was this unexpected thing that happened to you in your personal life that you had to leave work early. Sometimes that does happen. So yes, making a priority list and telling yourself, okay, I absolutely know that I need to get this done today. So that way, if the day just happens, this is what needs to happen. Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah. The last tip that I have is making sure that you ask when you're asked to do something, ask for a deadline.
Yeah.
Ask for what priority level this is. Is this like straight up be like, is this a priority? Or if you have something else that you're doing, tell them, I'm also working on this. Which one would you like me to take priority? I do this all the time in our team meetings because I love team meetings. You brainstorm all the time, whatever. But then we'll get to the end of a conversation. It'll be like, okay, yeah, so we've all decided that we're going to start doing this for our blood drives. And then I'll say like, okay, when do you want this done? Like when do you want this done? Because that helps me figure out where it could be prioritized. Or I say like, okay, so here's the deal. Like I need to do on-site recruitment for this blood drive, but you're saying that we should be at this event. Which one takes priority? You know, something like that. Like it just helps you. And if you, especially if you are not like in a leadership position and you have a leader that you can ask about that, that's important. If you are in a leadership position, think about that beforehand, because it is really helpful to the people that you're leading for them to know what is the most important and when it is important to get it done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a really good one. I know that at work recently, we had like this bid that we were going to submit, and I did not know that there was a timeline or a deadline to make the submission. So I was like, okay, yes, I'll plan that into my day. And I was like, just going along with my day, doing the things that I had already had planned. And then my boss came into my office and was like, hey, are you able to get this submitted by 2? And it was like 1:53. And I was like, oh, no. I was like, oh my God, I did not know that there was a deadline on that. I had been working on all these other things, and then he was kind of frustrated, and I was like, I didn't know. And so asking instead of just assuming or asking is very smart. And it doesn't even have to be like a, okay, well, I'm really busy, so which one do you want me to do first? It can just be like okay, yeah, I can absolutely take that on. If you can, say like, yeah, when does that need to be done by?
Absolutely, yes.
And that way we're getting a time of the day.
And this helps you not work in the evenings and weekends, because if you have a deadline and you know when it needs to get done by, you can prioritize it well. And then you're not getting like a message at the end of the day or whatever, or close to the deadline.
Yeah.
You're about to clock out for the day and you see it and they're like, hey, have you gotten this done yet? And you're like, was it supposed to be done by today? Like, I didn't think it was. And then now you're working on it when you should be eating dinner with your family.
Yes. And you're so stressed out while you're doing it. And you're like, oh, crap.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that's my last really big tip about like working smarter, not harder. Just small things that you can do to make your work more effective so that you're not dragging work into the evenings and weekends.
Yeah.
And breaking those boundaries that we talked about before.
Yeah. I will also say that while listening to us talking about these tips, I feel like this always happens with like how-to episodes. Everything is always easier said than done. You might be listening to this and you might be like, wow, like you guys are really like you really speak your mind, or you really like stand up for yourself, or things like that. And it's not like, I know for you, it's not like that's always been how it is. Like you've had to unfortunately have really bad experiences to make yourself have these boundaries that you're like, no, these are important and I know that these need to be done. So it can be easier said than done, but it just has to start somewhere.
Yeah, and I would say like I don't think you don't have to be bitchy about it. Like, you don't have to be rude about it. Like you can be soft and just like, hey, I'm clocking out. Like everybody have a great day. Or like, hey, I just really want to know how to prioritize this. Like, what priority is this, or when does this need to get done? You know, like it's not like I'm sitting like, okay, well, when does that? When's the deadline?
Well, I have this, and this. So what do you want?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
not like that. But it is definitely easier said than done. And I am happy we did this episode because it's a refresher for me of what my boundaries are, and I want to like re-implement them.
I can see you during the episode being like, oh, I need to start that again.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so even me, like if you're listening to this episode, I'm right there with you. We can restart these or start or restart these boundaries together and just get a little bit more efficient in our workplace so that we're not breaking the boundaries.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think this is a good episode. I think it's something you've been wanting to talk about. You've been needing to talk about. And it was a listener suggestion. So we obviously know it will be an episode many people can listen to.
Yeah. Thanks, Haley, again for giving the suggestion. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, please let us know. We love to hear them. I know we have some fun ones coming up, and we're starting to incorporate guests as well. So otherwise, we will talk with you next week. Hope you have a great one.
Have a good one. Cheers.